Heyo everybody, Haku here with my review of Fear the Walking Dead Season 2 Episode 2, and it was We All Fall Down. So I'm going to get into this, breaking it apart piece by piece before giving my general thoughts, but first part we get to, actually sorry if this is moving a little fast, but I am just going to get into breaking it down part by part, because my general thoughts were kind of this just sort of happened. I didn't feel any particular way towards anything. I thought it was entertaining for watching it for that night when it premiered, but it's not really something I really care to go back and rewatch. And honestly, I feel like it was so self-contained and so irrelevant. I don't want to say irrelevant to anything outside of this episode, but it was so self-contained that I think it's going to turn out to be a kind of episode that later on in the series you can look back and say, you know, we could have completely cut that episode out and it wouldn't have changed anything. I really think that from the start to the end of this, we got so little progress. Now, the start was pretty good with the kids and the Walker fence. And after that, we had the logbook that Nick reclaimed, and it told them that San Diego was burned, and so now we know we cannot go to San Diego, but it's kind of hinted that we're not going there anyway. So, and of course we have to try to escape from the boat that's pursuing us, and they just hide in a cove. And the particular place they go to hide is Katrina Island, I believe the name was. And they went there because it had a ranger station, and they figured that meant communication, it meant supplies, it meant a lot of things. Also, we realize via, I believe it's Strand, that the boat we found that was destroyed and all the people were dead, it had to have been destroyed by the Navy or some sort of military outfit, because the bullet holes were so big, it had to be some sort of mounted gun, something very large. So it was definitely military in origin. And of course, when they're going to get to Katrina Island, Madison sees a light turn on in a house on the island. So Daniel and Strand stay back on Abigail, and Ophelia, or the rest of the group, goes onto the island, and Ophelia does nothing once again this episode. They're really underdeveloping a lot of the characters, and I'm really hoping that changes. And you guys know I've been very, very positive about the show, but and I am still generally positive about the episode. It was entertaining, but I do think that we are getting very, very little character development for all the time. Like, we're spending pretty much no time on action and stuff like that, and spending nearly all our time on conversations, things of that nature. And so you would think we would be getting like a huge, broad amount of character development, but aside from a couple of characters, it really just does not feel like it. Now, we find on the island George Geary and his family. And my biggest complaint with them is that from the very beginning, they did not feel important to me at all. They definitely felt like a one-off sort of bunch of characters that I knew from the beginning, okay, they're either dying this episode or we're splitting off and going our separate ways this episode. Like, I didn't think any of them would continue on through the series with our group. None of them felt important. In fact, the only feeling I got from George really is that he just felt like an Edwin Jenner type character from the original series, where he's just he's there to dump some information on Travis and then die. That was what I felt about his character, and that was pretty much all he did: dump some information and then presumably die. So we find out via Geary, or George, that the border is sealed and pretty much the western half of the United States is boned. It is no more, essentially. And I'm gonna interject here that I found it really frustrating throughout the episode how our characters just came in there, thought they knew what was best, and sort of tore apart this family. Don't get me wrong, the family were crazies, and if we had left them alone, they would have died altogether in the suicide pact or whatever. But the thing is, interjecting ourselves in here, they died with a lot more pain and stress, and they died a lot worse this way than they would have died if we had just left well enough alone. We had some alright kind of intentions with it, but our characters just seemed like frustratingly nosy, interjecting themselves into these people's lives more than they were welcomed when these people were helping them for all intents and purposes. The scene with the kid and Nick I liked. I really liked Nick's development this episode. Of course I like Nick as a character. I think a lot of people do. And for me, he's really the character that's the driving force for the show for me at this point. I think that Madison and Travis are getting decent development, and I like them as well. But I don't think any character has been as well written as Nick so far. So that power pill scene was interesting. There were a lot of like small things they threw in there that I thought were pretty good. But again, overall, what it led to was just so self-contained that I feel like it didn't have too large an impact. Now George, he was weird and he was crazy with all of the, the stuff about the Maori people and stuff. Like, he was a bit odd and weird, and he seemed really sort of delusional and misguided. But there are a lot of people like that do exist in real life. So, I mean, no complaints. It was just interesting note, I guess. I feel like I have to note each of these scenes like that. And after that, we do get a really cool speech from Nick. I really did like this when he talked to Alicia about how there's no more smog, there's no more noise pollution, all that kind of stuff. And he said, but I'm so scared for those kids. I feel so bad for those kids. They're never going to know what normal is. This world is all they're going to know. I think it's interesting that we are going through that sort of like we went through with Carl in the original series. With the baby as well in season 2 of the original series. So I like that we have some characters thinking more deeply about that, because another problem I'm having with Fear so far, even though I'm positive about the series, I still like the series, I still think they'll do good stuff with it. It bothers me a little that the characters don't care more about the situation that they're in, it feels. The same with another scene, I'll go ahead and bring it up now, even though I don't know if it was next, was the one with the son, Seth, killing the walkers at the fence, treating it like a job already. That's how he's been conditioned and all that. And Chris learning more about the walkers and finding out how to kill them and stuff. I think that was really important and that was good. It just feels like if you were in the zombie apocalypse situation, wouldn't you want to know more about them and like how to survive, and wouldn't you want to know more about where to go and all this stuff? But it seems like a lot of the characters are just sitting around doing nothing a lot of the time. They're not trying to figure out what's going on, and they can't know for sure what's going on. Like even Strand, it's hinted that Strand was like, he seems like he sort of knew what was going on, but he's gotten to the point where he's sitting around in the little wheelhouse so much that it almost doesn't make sense. Same with, it just seems like Daniel, Ophelia, especially Alicia, it seems like they don't care about the situation they're in a lot. It seems like they're not trying to figure out where to go. They're not trying to figure out stuff about the walkers. And I am throwing Daniel in there as well, even though he is trying to figure out stuff about Strand. Beyond that, he's not trying to figure out like why dead people are coming back to life and what we need to do about that to survive. It seems like there's not enough thought being put in here. And then another scene later on, we find out that the island has that marina nearby, and there are hundreds of them on this island. That way it's not safe. We just have to bide our time. And I was thinking, what do you mean? That sounds incredibly safe. There are hundreds. Okay, you pick them off a few at a time. They can't reproduce. It's an island. They're not coming from anywhere else unless they wash up, but you already seem to have that handled. Just pick off like 2 or 3 a day, and even if there are hundreds, in about a year there will be none left and you'll be golden. So that whole entire situation where they're like, it's not very safe to stay on this island, didn't make a ton of sense to me, because given time and if they actually worked to take out a few walkers each day, it would have been incredibly safe. But with all this negative stuff I brought up, let me bring up something super positive. Nick looking for the drugs. And a lot of people are probably going to say, oh, that was annoying, or oh, isn't he over that? But no, I like that it shows that he still struggles. It shows that the character still has flaws, and a good character has flaws. A good character is still good, enjoyable, you empathize with them, but they do have flaws. It makes them human, like real people. And I liked that they showed him looking for the drugs, and it made him feel more real, more developed. It helped the character a lot, I felt. So of course he does find the suicide pills, and beyond finding the suicide pills, Melissa tells Madison about how she wants them to take the kids because the family plans to die on the island, and then Madison and Travis get into it. I also like how Travis is being, the past 2 episodes he's been very, he wasn't overly goody two-shoes like in the first season. He was rational, where he's like, okay, we can't save everybody. I want to save people. I want to do the right thing. I want to do the good thing, but we realistically can't save everyone. I really like that. It just, again, I like the rational side of Travis. So we also find out that Strand's talking on the phone to somebody, so he is planning to go somewhere, and I don't think it's going to be sketchy like some criminal underground business. I actually think that he might have a family or something, and he's trying to get to his family. I think that would be an interesting twist for it, since we have all these characters thinking he's untrustworthy and like bad or whatever, but then we find out he's actually good, he has a family, and that's why he's doing all of this. Also, Daniel, searching around, finds some hidden stuff, including a map of Baja, Mexico, or Baja, California. I think it's technically called Baja California, but it's part of Mexico. So we're assuming that that's where they're going to go probably. And then after that, Willow, of course, takes the suicide pills, turns into Little Kid Walker, and bites Melissa. Ordinarily, I wouldn't dislike this, but it felt so obvious. It felt like so predictable. Like, it felt like a scene that we've seen play out a million times, where the loved one turns and the one person's holding them like, no, why? And then they go zombie and either bite them or have to be stopped before they bite them. Like, it felt so generic to me. Now, the ending to me was the worst part. I hate how Seth showed up, took Harry back, and we just left, and yay, episode's over. We're never going to see the characters again, likely. None of it meant anything. Our characters may have learned some lessons, but not very big life character changing lessons. We got next to nowhere. We progressed next to nowhere. So while I did think that the episode was really entertaining when I first watched it, it was what it was. I feel like I don't want to watch it again that much. I mean, maybe at the end of the season, leading up to the finale, there will be a marathon and I'll just watch the marathon and watch it again. But it wouldn't be something I'm super excited about. Even though it was entertaining, we didn't get... It was entertaining, but it wasn't important. We didn't really get anywhere specific or important. And like I said earlier, most of the characters, even though we did get some development for Madison and Nick and Travis and even Chris, which I really liked seeing Chris get some more development, most of the characters, or a lot of the characters, still do feel very undeveloped so far. So even though I talked really badly about a lot of parts, I did find it overall entertaining, and I'm going to give it a generally pretty good score. I'm going to give it a 6.5 Hollow Globes out of 10, which isn't bad at all. It's definitely over 50%. But I did think it was entertaining. I really did. there were just some inherent problems. So I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like if you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of the episode, because we could definitely disagree on this one. Tell me what you thought of my thoughts. Subscribe for more Fear the Walking Dead, Tower of God, One Piece, and a bunch more, because there will be a bunch more. Follow on Twitter for updates when I'm posting a new video or if anything is getting pushed back. I thank you all sincerely for watching, and I will see you all next time.